set. Hi, Alan. Her audio isn't connected yet.
That magical place, unlike.
Oh.
Got it.
And Daniel, you're dressed.
Yeah, yeah. I can go get the robe. Sorry, Rick.
I like that you guys are all in sweatshirts. And my other self is like in a Hawaiian shirt. And I've got a sweater.
Why is your other self on the screen?
Huh?
Why do you have two of you?
Because I have my
Ellen, hi.
laptop set for a just a confidence monitor.
Oh,
We have a screenshot. No idea what it is, but I downloaded it.
Any good jokes?
I'm trying to share
Always quick with a joke, Rick.
I'm trying to share an event on Facebook, or share this event on Facebook,
Thank you.
which is joke enough. Trying to make this happen, not the event.
Yeah.
I know.
Hey,
joke.
I sent a whole bunch of stuff out. Now, whether anybody reads me, that's I don't know. Get a lot of likes.
Shared.
I was just thinking you should have a text list and text everybody right now.
Where are you?
Well, like an Amber Alert. Everybody's phone
Yeah.
ringing.
Yeah, people would welcome that. Yeah.
For sure.
Have you gotten any emails, Jerry? Is people having trouble getting in or something?
I don't know. I haven't gotten any text or any
Emails?
emails.
Well, I mean, to be fair, once I saw I was reading, I almost didn't come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, this is a
Good
little
joke.
different than sitting around in some room in North Hollywood staring at each other. It's now we're all facing the same direction. I'm not seeing Elizabeth or Bryn. Let me text them.
Ellen maybe's here, so I'm good. That's fine. One of my favorite audiences right there.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, a joke. So Jesus Christ, he's out there, he's preaching to the multitudes that are beginning to gather. And in the course of him talking, just as the crowd starts to come, these Pharisees drag this woman in front of them and they throw her at his feet and they tell him she's been caught in the act of adultery. And so she, according to the law, she's supposed to be stoned. And Jesus looks out at the multitudes and he says, whoever is without sin, let them cast the first stone. This old woman came running up from the back. She throws a rock. Everybody starts throwing rocks at the woman. Jesus takes her aside and says, Mom, I've told you, don't come out here when I'm working.
That's classic.
A bad joke, but I do like it. Yeah. My favorite Brendan Constantine joke is, what is the difference between a pizza and a poet? You know the punchline, no?
I'm not sure I do. I was.
A pizza can feed a family of 5.
Oh,
Oh.
My sense of humor is dark. Yeah.
I think it's required as a poet.
Yeah. This might be it. That's okay.
Yeah, we've done this before. Maybe we'll just change the format and do a round circle. I already told you the one story about how Daniel and I met, which I would have told everybody else. Oh, there's Elizabeth. Hi.
I can't. Hi. I'm on my phone because I don't know where my computer is. Because I just moved, and I mean, I have 240 boxes. So, and I'm
Oh my
not
gosh.
exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. So, I
Yeah.
just located the linens. So,
Oh, good.
yeah,
Well, that's a start.
it's huge. It's
Yeah.
huge. But welcome everybody. How great that you're here.
Yes, we're here and alive. And Daniel says, read more poetry. I thought it said feed more poetry.
Well,
Oh.
that'll work too.
But
This
that
is the poetry lab.
one means the other. Who is the poetry lab? I've been seeing their
Danielle Mitchell's been doing the poetry lab since it was an in-person thing for years.
Oh.
Now it's larger. There's other people working with her, but Danielle Mitchell's been the head of that for a long time. I've been going there for years.
Where is it?
Well, it was based in Long Beach, but since COVID, everything's changed, right? She
Yeah.
moved out of Long Beach, and I think she lives in San Dimas now, but it doesn't matter because Poetry Lab's online. Hi, Jamie.
Jamie, good morning. Is it morning yet? No, you got another hour. She can't hear me.
He's not speaking yet. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Okay. Well, we're getting, we don't have a quorum yet because we've got 3 readers and 4 audience. I guess that makes a quorum.
It's good.
Yeah. Hi, Jamie.
Do you share the video online after the event or Facebook Live it or anything?
I don't go live, but I put an edited version up on our YouTube channel.
Oh, cool. All right.
And then post the link. It's on our webpage. I've got a lot of media out there, but I've got a feeling very few people. I know Jamie hits me all the time, so I know she's watching. But I'll figure out, Elizabeth, at our next meeting, Judith's here. Hey, cool.
I can't see anybody except the speaker, but that's okay.
On your top corner, on your top right-hand corner, it says
No.
view.
No, I'm on my phone. So
Oh,
everything is-
that's a whole
yeah.
different ballgame. Yeah.
So I don't see me. I mean, which is great because but I don't know if you can see me. Can you see me?
Hi, Carmen.
We cannot. Your camera's not on as best as we
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how to do that on my phone.
Get your finger on top of it.
I see, one of those symbols that represents me. So
Yeah.
that's just gonna, I mean, I'm not getting a menu. That's the problem. It just, there's no done speaking. I'm not done speaking, but my video.
I think she just cut her own self
Yeah,
off there.
I know.
Hey, Carmen.
Hi. Did someone try and walk Elizabeth through next to where the mute is, the video?
She's on the phone.
Oh, she's on.
Yeah, it's really limited.
I don't know how it works on a
Watch
phone.
Zoom on a phone, and I do think you just see a speaker. Maybe one or two.
Yeah. Anyway,
I
Hi,
see two
Carmen.
Jerry Garcias.
I've never met you,
Shirt and a sweater one.
but I've seen you online. So does that sound awful?
Technically, you're seeing her online now.
Yes, this is true too.
It sounded intriguing. Like somebody maybe has been following.
I've been watching you.
Probably tells you something about my life that I'm like, that's great. I'm not freaked out at all. It sounds good.
Yeah. Okay, what do you say, guys? You all you got
Right.
appointments and things. Rick, do you want to change the order?
No, whatever you. I don't want to leave before the end of the event, but if you get it going,
Yeah,
I
well,
think
okay.
we'll be in good shape.
Nobody,
right.
nobody wants to follow Lupert, so I think you were good the way you set it up. Really,
Turning off my mic.
What can
now.
you do?
That's
Yeah,
that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I chose the reverse order of when I met you. So we see that Fernando's a young man, and I only met him maybe 5-6 years ago. Then Daniel, you were I told you the story, but I think I met Rick just before that. I think Rick was, ta-da, the first guy to ask me to feature. He said after I read at its open reading, I went to see, I think, Alicia Vogel Signs, and it was my first time at the Cobalt. And I got up and read at the open, and then after the show, he came and asked me if I would come back in a few weeks and be the feature. And I thought, wow, that's great. Well, after years of being a poetry host, I realized he had a slot to fill. But
You might have.
thank you for that. Anyway, Richard. Rick.
I mean, I chose to fill it with you. What I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not like let's just get some warm bodies in here and see what happens.
Yeah, that's true.
Filling time up. It was a purposeful ask, I believe.
Yeah. Jamie, are you home in Outer Guard? Oh, Jamie went away and became Judith. Hi, Judith.
She's back. She's right there.
I see Jamie talking, but I don't hear
Jerry.
her.
Hi,
Okay.
how are you? I'm here.
Oh, good. Well, I'm going to get the show going. We'll just do the way I planned it.
Yeah.
And the first thing we're going to do is, hopefully this will work because it often doesn't. But we are going to see a little intro video. Hey there. I like that when I asked you guys to send pictures, Daniel and Fernando chose the same salmon colored background. You don't even know each other, right? that was just a coincidence?
No,
And
we
then-
planned that.
Yeah,
No,
Rick.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. And then Rick sent a black and white picture, which very, very. Oh, I can't even think of the word now. I'm losing my mind, folks. So anyway, thank you. It's our first anniversary of this reading series. We started with a book launch for Beth Ruscio last December. And the VCP is a nonprofit organization committed to the cultivation and advancement of poetry in Southern California. Founded during the COVID-19 pandemic, our goal is to provide the camaraderie and spirit of the original Valley contemporary poets founded by Nan Hunt in 1980. To that end, I want to talk about that Rick and I have revived the every once in a while VCP presenting a poet at the Cobalt. So the Cobalt reading, which is online, and also the inspiration for my going online, will be on, I think it's January 18th, if that's a Tuesday. And it'll be Laurel Blossom, who has a new book out. So I hope you guys can tune in then. I'm asking the poets to put their contact information in Venmo or PayPal or Zelle or Widget or whatever into the chat. So those wishing to buy their books as Christmas gifts and find reading material can buy them. So I'm going to start by asking poets questions. And here is a hat full of questions. And let's start with Fernando. You ready, Fernando?
Yes.
All righty. So I'm pulling a random question out of the hat.
Why are you looking in the hat?
You're
looking into the hat, Jerry. I think
No, I was.
it's random. It's random. Okay.
They're random.
Yeah, all right.
They're random. I have no idea what this says yet. Okay. Well, I love this question. How important is accessibility of meaning? Should one have to work hard to solve a poem?
Wow, that's a really good question. You know, I remember I was writing these very cryptic, some symbolic poems with all these multiple layers, and I had a guy complain to me. He said, "Look, I'm a doctor. I work 16-hour days. I don't want to get home and have to read something that I have to decode. It's too much work for me. It hurts my brain." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." You know, and then actually, probably, I think it was my 5th or 6th marriage. It didn't work out because and I say that kind of jokingly, kind of hyperbolic, but just the person that I was with did not like not understanding my poems. So I think it's fun sometimes to have a poem where the meaning is more hidden. And at the same time, I like to just give it to you straight.
Good answer. All right, here's my second one. And I did not look. I'm looking now because I'm going to read it.
Okay.
How do you manage to fit writing in with other demands on your time? I know you're a busy guy from reading your bio. You're just like running next to Phil Taggart. You're running Ventura County thing. But and are you good at managing your time?
Well, you know, I started this Patreon, and so I have subscribers that contribute once a month, and there was a promise put forth that I'd put a chapter out every month, and I did that for about a year. So that forced me to write, and I'm not sure that I like being forced to write, because then you may not get my best, but I always promise that it's draft work, and it may be the shitty first draft, it may be something that I've worked on and polished quite some time. But right now, because I have 2 new books out, one that was released in September, one in November, I haven't been writing, I've been promoting. I've been reading, and that's been a challenge, just to drive around constantly and try and promote those books. So, but do I manage my time well? Absolutely, just not my writing time. I have, I'm working, I have so many projects going right now that I could spend the next 20 minutes telling you about all of them.
Well, we'd rather have you read and post your information sites in the chat. So take it away, Fernando.
Well, like as I mentioned, I've been reading a lot, and one of the things I do not like to do is read the same poems back to back or within the few days. So I'm going to be sharing poems that I don't even remember writing. However, they made the cut into my new book. So I make no promises on this, but this one's called Swapping Sillies. Happy-faced clown puts it in sad-faced clown's hand. Sad-faced clown has never seen one before, but she decides it's very realistic, appreciates how the soft rubber feels like genuine plucked chicken skin. She notices its considerable length too. It's much longer than she ever imagined. When the sad-faced clown squeezes it in her fist, the rubber chicken squawks, and she cannot contain herself. She runs to the medicine cabinet and paints a happy face over her sad face and laughs. Now there are 2 happy-faced clowns. They slip into love, completely bananas, and skip the circus, make a baby, and funny music on top of the squawky rubber chicken. The next morning, happy-faced clown runs off with firefighter clown. Happy-faced pregnant clown tosses the gag gift into her bottomless wastebasket. It wheezes instead of squawks. She paints a sad face on before catching a ride with cab driver clown down to the abortion clinic. Now she is back to her canvas tent. Sad face clown's pasty makeup runs like mascara. She takes the rubber chicken from the trash can and gives it a squeeze, but it does not wheeze, squeak, or squawk. It simply lay lifeless in her fingerless cotton gloves. Well, I don't know what trip I was on when I wrote that, but oh gosh, that was fun to read though. I'm glad I wrote that. A love affair between circus clowns. Here's another strange one. It's called I'm Gonna Miss You, Dumbass. I can't believe you wanted me to feel sorry for you. Isn't it bad enough I had to wear a suit to your funeral? I told you to wait for me, but you didn't. You popped onto the street like a red light, but the bus didn't stop. You left me standing there wondering how far the bus's tires were going to take you, traveling in their treads. I don't understand why you always have to one-up me. The whole world feels sorry for you except for me, because your mom thinks it's my fault. We ditched school and sniffed spray paint behind the old man Johnson's hardware store. She can't believe you thought you were skinny enough to lay under the bus while it passed over you. And she feels bad that she didn't let you eat more junk food. What were you thinking? Did you really think you were a superhero like in one of your stupid comic books? It was sniffing spray paint or pissing on cars from the overpass like we normally do, but you wanted to get high. Our noses were glittering nuggets, gold nuggets turned up to the wavy sky. Our eyes were red slits like the ones you cut on your arms, and everything was so funny. I think I may have laughed when one of your teeth flew out of your mouth and stuck into my cheek. I'm going to keep it under my pillow. Even the unmuted people are muted, their laughter, their tears. It's like, oh, sorry, wait. Sorry, all right. This is directions. This talks about more about growing up in Los Angeles. Descend through opaque smog and explode into an aerial view of Los Angeles. Dodge skyscrapers and swerve between parked cars headed south on the 405. Exit Century Boulevard and stop for a red light. A transient will drool over his blooded tongue, black gums, and spit between the gap of his front teeth into a soiled tube sock. Wipe your eyes and your feet, and then the world seems a little brighter. The spit shine cleaner will stick out the lighter side of his hand for change, but the light will turn green, and with your glorious ass to him, he'll make two fists, every jagged fingernail digging into the palms of his hands, except for his thumbs and middle fingers, and he'll jab those first at the dirty brown sky, then at you, but you won't see him. Take a left, then another past a man selling bundles of roses from an island, gabachos in designer business suits, trading limp presidents for warm tamales, a boy selling oranges packed in pillowcase clear plastic bags, past kids selling drugs from street corners, and girls selling themselves from sidewalk curbs. You won't see your reflection in the liquor store window cracked up and wise, but you might find my placazo on the old brick building where spray paint crosses out descendants on the graffiti family tree of La Raza. Ignore the homeless woman sitting with 5 children under the age of 4 by the adult bookstore. I need you. Rise back up off the street, over the houses, watch for planes roaring by, beginning their descent into LAX. Perch on the telephone pole tagged LNX. I'll be in my house there, in my room, on my knees, searching for the toy my abuelita said I'd never find until I ask you to forgive me for not believing in you. I find that in this book, thank you, Toxic Masculinity, my grandmother appears in the majority of the poems, or she influenced the events that happened. And she just played such an important role in my life. So I wrote this poem for her too. It's called Conspiracy Theories. What hardworking Chicana wouldn't see the microwave oven as a divinely inspired, miraculous invention to relieve the modern day woman with 3 jobs of her obligation to cook for 5 kids, 4 living grandchildren, and a traditional machismo viejo. So for about a week, we became the scientific test subjects of the physiological effects of 10-cent frozen burritos on the human body. And if it weren't for my extremely paranoid Tío Pancho and his conspiracy theories, my grandma would have never had to make another meal on the stove. It's population annihilation. ¿Sabes qué? The CIA is selling the inner city crack. It's population control. ¿Sabes qué? The AIDS epidemic is chemical and biological warfare genocide. It's population control. ¿Sabes qué? I haven't seen any cockroaches in the kitchen since you got that microwave. If the cockroaches are laying low, maybe it's time to let that thing go. It's probably population control. They want to take first microwave burritos and chimichangas, then Native American Indians will microwave popcorn. The Italians are probably going to be next. Just wait. There'll be microwave pizzas in every freezer in LA. Can't even watch the game when that thing's humming its death song. All the radiation is messing up the reception. It's population control. Y sabes qué? It was back. The aroma of homemade tortillas and Folgers coffee at 5 a.m., waking to the sound of my grumbling stomach, papas frying in chorizo, eggs sizzling in tablespoons of butter, pink beans boiling with a dash of salt, a cube of pork, onions and garlic, and my grandma slamming the cabinets to make sure she wasn't the only one awake before sunrise. Thank you for listening out there in YouTube land too.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a runaway mouse there, so I couldn't unmute myself. So that was great. It was great to hear that that medley of poems. Let's give Fernando another round of shaky hands. And I'm going to move on to Daniel here. Maybe you can unmute, Daniel.
Okay.
Hey, man. So cool. How are things out there? And you're still in Whittier, right?
Yeah, I am in Whittier, yes.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Well,
Keeps calling me back.
yeah. I met Daniel on our first, one of my first readings, and it was a launch for a online zine called the November 3rd Club. And that was after George Bush was elected back in, I don't know what year that was, but it was a long time ago. Anyway.
We were very young. I didn't think it could get any worse.
Yeah. Yeah. But what did we know? All right. So another poem out of the hat, poem question out of the hat. That's a good one. Daniel, do you enjoy promoting your books and meeting your readers?
I enjoy meeting my readers. I really am horrible at promoting my books. I had the opportunity of being on Write Bloody, and Derek really tried to encourage me on all the things you need to do to promote yourself, but I feel like it's a totally different skill set, and I'm pretty bad at promoting myself. That's why that book has, he put it out, it went out of print, and he put it out again, gave me a second chance, but I just didn't have the heart to put in what it takes to really promote, to harangue people and get them to do it, to buy stuff, you know. Wait a minute. Here we go. I got to enter this into the chat. I have copies of that out of print book. You can talk to me. Okay, yeah. I've promoted myself. Next question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to add a question. It's not in the hat, but based on what you said, now you've been with several publishers in your career. Is it different? If it's different between any of them?
I always enjoy putting together a book, and I usually go vacant for a while. He was talking about after you've written and then you go out and you're trying to promote the book, all of a sudden I find, oh, I've stopped writing. It's a pattern I have, but I feel like part of my process is writer's block from time to time. It just happens to me. I have another chapbook coming out in Ireland, Jamie, on Sir Vision Press next year, called Drowning the Boy.
Cool. Cool. Well, you just led me into the only self-promotion I'm going to do. But I just got the,
you have a book coming out.
Yes, I just got the proof for my new book, and I look forward to going through it. And I'm working with Untitled Press with Eric Morago, who, I'll give him a shout out, is just a great, sincere, and hardworking publisher. And I think you agree with that, Daniel. That was your last book, right?
I'm on the press, and he's very much building a community. It's a selfless thing he's doing.
Yes.
It really is. It's not like he's making a lot of money, but he puts a lot of time and energy into promoting poets, local poets, and drawing them together too, like a community.
Yeah. Anyway, let's pretend we're at your at a book opening and hear some of your poems.
One thing I'd like to do, if it's all right, is share screen, because I'm word oriented, and to see a person's face as opposed to see the print is a different experience, but I comprehend better. And I don't think I like to look at myself when I'm reading, so I'm going to go ahead and just try to put the page on the screen, if that is all right.
Go ahead. I just made you a co-host.
Here we go. I'm going to write down the time so I don't go over. Writer's block. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's time to shut up myself and learn to walk backward. I wish I could give myself another name, another voice to wear like a mask. I grow so tired of being nice. I have to go back to my room and sit myself down in the dark. Ever watch a year go by and wonder where you went? Ode to Sleep. Red lives in a house that lives in Green's head. With a door red closes on everything green. The world is reduced to Green's breath when red closes Green's eyes under a red sky. Red has a heart that beats in Green's ears in a bed where red lays down at the end of the day. A pulse that beats like a sonar, blips in the blood that feeds red dreams. Falling asleep inside that sound, Green's belly swells up like a hollow gourd. Green's lungs open like window shutters and drift back down on accordion wings. Visions appear above the bed and linger like ancestors in the ether. Red walks underwater, converses with the dead. Green goes back to work and makes things right. Ode to Daniel. They told me what my name means. God is my judge. We talked about it in Sunday school. Babylon was a tree and the tree was cut down. The king was a man and the man was a beast grazing at peace in a green field. My name is not Hebrew. It came from Babylon. My namesake was an advisor to the king, an interpreter of symbols, a visionary in the Jungian sense. Lions refused to touch him. He had dreams. The statue of metal had feet of clay. The feet were smote with a stone that was cut with no hands and thrown at the feet that were threshed in the wind like wheat. I was a sad infant, crying and sucking at my mother's breast, runt of the litter, smallest of six. I never expected to live this long. She named me after Danny, the dead boy, in the funeral song they sing in Irish pubs. I was always a dreamer. I fell asleep in the arms of lions. Missing Marlene. I don't remember when coins were worth money. I know you do, Marlene. You saved them religiously inside of a cast plaster statue of the Virgin Mary, back when silver was silver and coins were backed with gold. I never thought I'd live to see the day when our government would fill them like cookies with a soft copper center. California has been burning for years, Marlene. Tonight, the moon is glowing like the tip of God's cigar. Ashes flutter down like tiny angel feathers. My chest is heavy, my heart sore. It's the end of the world, Marlene. The ocean smells like sewage and infects our wounds. We can't touch each other or go outside without wearing face masks. I will always love you, Marlene, and I can see you leaning on your pickup truck a long time ago before you died, when we had most of our marbles. Don't be sad. This is what it is, just like the president told us when he was afraid we might all start to panic. Ode to my body. Looking in the mirror this morning, I wondered how I came to this. Top half larger than the bottom, a fat flap where my waist should be, skin no longer tight, face no longer young, legs thinner than they've ever been. My feet once fit on a birth certificate. A thumb in my mouth was enough to sustain me. My body keeps changing like my brain. I've been many people. I've devoured many bodies and tossed them aside like disposable lighters. Where would I be without you? Container of my breath, candle I am burning, the vessel of my longest dream. Forgive me for calling you fat, for thinking you ugly, as not enough of this or not enough of that. You were always enough. Thank you. I'm grateful to be here and grateful for what remains. I have to move the crowd of people here because they're covering the prose poem. That sounds odd, but I actually did it. Miracle of the internet. It's actually, it feels miraculous that I'm sitting here in the storage room that I've made into like my little office, and you're all sitting all over the world right now, and we're in the same space. It's not the same room, but it feels like it right now. I'll give you something to cry about, my mother used to say to me, as if it were only going to be one thing. My dog started urinating while sleeping in my bed, having reached the age of accidents. I've reached the age of can't sleep anymore, so my dog may be punishing me for not staying put. She's French. There were always cultural differences, even before an unsightly rash started unfurling itself across my skin like a map of red states. I can only speak to my children from a widening distance, but my children remember when I was carefree and polite. Nowadays, I won't hold hands with anyone but myself. My father started drinking into the wee hours of the morning, and before we realized what was happening, I had joined him. He told me a world war isn't so bad if you start when you're young, before you know what death is. Then he started talking about the mynah bird that he had to bring home from the barbershop because it began repeating racist slurs and dirty words. I loved that bird and named it Jerry. Jerry loved taking baths. Every day I would slide the bottom out of the cage to replace the newspaper, lift the cage and place it over a dog dish filled with clean water. Jerry would hop into the water and groom his wings with his bright yellow beak. Last night, my father told me that he sold the mynah bird for $100 in 1964. I remember him telling me when I was 11 years old that he was giving Jerry a bath one day and the bird just flew away. Ode to Gerald Bachman. The first time I saw you was almost 50 years ago on a chapbook cover. You were overweight, naked, sitting in a bathtub full of water with a can of beer in your hand. It was a book of poems. You referred to yourself as the toad, not the kiss the toad and it becomes a prince toad, just another illegitimate son of Bukowski toad. This is poetry you can understand, toad. Over the years, we watched you grow thin and sober, a blue-eyed Irishman with a devil's glint in his eye, hair sort of combed, jeans a bit oversized, next to a tower of chapbooks placed on a stool you would never sit on. You stood when you read, you danced when you sang. You weren't a fancy man who believed in singing lessons. Whatever you did was for joy in the moment. You made titles out of punchlines. Your poems were as unpretentious as an apple core with skin and flesh removed. Never wasted syllable. You made art of things the rest of us threw away. If you were allowed to choose an exit door, you would have chose the one marked COVID-19 and died a death we could all understand. One as commonplace as iceberg lettuce and bologna on Wonder Bread. The award-winning professor who regarded students as his teachers, who was pleased to be published anywhere, would pick the disease of the bus driver, the caregiver, and the essential worker. I am my father's child. I live in California. When the wind blows, we sniff for smoke and the ashes of existence dance in summertime streets. Yesterday, gust of autumn invaded my backyard like an angry drunk, flipping potted plants and tossing plastic chairs against my house. A cypress myrtle splintered at the stump and fell headfirst on the asphalt, turning 2 lanes of traffic into barely 1. This tree survived for a short while in its designated. I need to get a little drink of liquid. Break time. Here we go. This cypress myrtle splintered at the stump and fell headfirst on the asphalt, turning 2 lanes of traffic into barely one. This tree survived for a short while in its designated dirt square, an island in a sea of concrete. I felt sad. It seemed too young to die. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I wondered why I think my life has more value than a tree. I know plants have memories and they feel things, but I've never pondered if they go to meet their Lord in the air. There is evidence in my face and in the way I cut a fried egg into tiny pieces that I am my Father's child. I know there are circles of ancestry in my DNA and that every choice creates a ripple. What will happen to this tree? Where will it go when it dies? Is it possible that any life is like a wave rising out of ocean, a fleeting illusion of not the ocean, but always the ocean? Waves follow waves again and again. How am I on time? I think I'm okay.
I have no idea.
I'm about 10 minutes in. I'll make it. Ode to a Decanter. I used to keep water on the kitchen counter in an old 1-gallon apple cider jug. I rarely washed the outside of the jug. The label was mostly peeled off, but I never looked at the jug like I might look a person in the eye. I just knew it was there. There was the place I kept my drinking water. You don't see things, Lori said to me when she picked out a crystal water pitcher and asked me to get some under-the-counter lights so I could see what's going on in that dark space below the cabinets. She placed a hot pad under the pitcher for it to rest on. Now it's our water, sitting on the cushion. It seems holy. I love the way it captures and contains light, even at night when no one is looking. Ode to the house on Banker Boulevard. I thought it was a house, but in retrospect, it might have been a converted 1-car garage with bootleg power and paneled walls. There wasn't much insulation, and there was just enough room for a single mattress tossed on the floor where we slept together every night without caution or contraceptives. We didn't know much and had no idea of where our lives were going. I was following her lead and she was following mine. We went to the dams every day so we could be alone and skinny dip or go for walks, stepping around the poison ivy and eating wild blackberries hidden in the bushes, warm on the vine. I was collecting unemployment and sort of looking for a job. This was therapy for the post-traumatic getting out of Los Angeles syndrome. We went to the lake almost every evening that summer. We watched the shoreline recede and collected twigs for the barbecue where we cooked soy patties for dinner. This was the house where time slowed down and deer came down from the mountain to nibble at our apple cores, carrot tops, wilted leaves, and celery waste. It was wet that winter. The almond tree in our yard shook off every leaf. Its muscular limbs and fingers were iced every morning. I don't think we had a heater, just an electric stove that shocked us every time we opened the oven door, which we left open to heat our home on cold mornings. We adopted a dog, of course, a golden retriever who shed profusely. That didn't matter because we were happy. We had a dog and a mattress on the floor where we all slept together. I'm going to stop. I'm going to get something to drink because I'm just really dry. I've got my back to you. That might be why you can't hear me. I have cans of mineral water on the bottom of the bookcase right behind me, but I have to open a new pack. Good time. We're almost done. We're almost done. And thank you for inviting me.
Happy to have you. And don't worry, Daniel. We just feel like we're in that little room with you.
Okay. If I tell you I'm happy when I'm sad, it's because I'm still holding your breath on my neck and you keep talking to me, but I can't keep up with all of it. There are so many ways to feel. Sometimes I don't feel any of them. All I know is we watered the same garden. The succulents are starting to flower, and the birds can see how beautiful you are when you spill seeds on their plate. They watch you silently. just like I do. When you swing your hips and walk into the kitchen, I hear you talking, but I don't understand a word you are saying. I lift one ear just like the dog who found you. I know I'm supposed to be in this room waiting for you to come back, amazed I can actually see you. Ode to Silence. I've grown hard of hearing. There's a hissing sound that lives in my air. It's loyal to me, like a dog that followed me home from the factory floor, where motors, machines, and conveyor belts laid their hands over my ears. There's always a sound in the air, voices muffled in the wall, footsteps coming down the hall. It takes faith to believe in silence. Even underwater, I hear atmosphere. Bergs punctuate the forest with chatter. I've learned so many words. I have so many names for things that my thoughts have separated me from God. Meditation rides the river of breathing. I cannot stand inside of silence, but I've come close to it. I've always had difficulty with deities. I find comfort in stillness. Silence is better than language. It has no agenda, no gender. It's as close as I can get. I can live with silence. You want to tell me what it was to have a job in the river, back when there was a job. Clean water flowed around your limbs. Clouds watched over the earth, back when there were bees. The blind man hears better. If I stop talking, will I begin to see? If I enter the woods walking, have I changed everything? Who can stop the ripples? I sit at the foot of a tree and a tick bores a hole at my belt line. Flies buzz around my head. You want to tell me about how you worked up to your elbows and down to your ankles before the rivers returned to dust. You want to tell me about your job. What if I stop? I can close my eyes or leave them open. What if I stop? Will I feel the tree, traumatized by the axe, lean back to protect themselves? It's genetic memory. I want to talk about chimneys that collapsed in my neighborhood. They dropped like puzzle pieces on suburban lawns. When the earthquakes came, our houses began to shiver. I want to tell you about snow. I saw it fill rivers before the fires, before clouds of smoke smothered the sky. I have taken off my clothes and stepped across rocks with bare feet, maneuvering around any foliage with red or yellow discoloration. I felt dam water lying cold against my skin in the morning, and I remembered walking up the trail with my child strapped to my chest, our breathing intermingled with insects and birds. All that is new to me is also remembering, looking down at the small town, roads swimming with toy cars, so many toy cars. There used to be a store on the corner. I remember people used to shop there. Neighbors would walk in, greet each other's naked faces, and lay cash money right on the counter. The walking back to join them, a part of this and a part of that. And that's the set. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
I'll
That
come
was
back
that
on
was
that.
great. I think you need to unshare
Thank
your
you.
screen.
Okay, that's a good idea. Let me figure out how to do that. I
Let's see.
see. Do share, resume share. Help. Let me just go to resume share. Stop share. Boom. And
Hey,
I'm back. Hi, everybody. Hi.
well
Thank you for listening.
that was it's so deep for me. I have a dog who's on in his years, and
Thank you.
I'm hearing a hiss and not hearing well, as I had said earlier. And anyway, thank you, Daniel. That's so great. And I look forward to the opportunity for us to read on a stage together. It's kind of a weird thing because here I have people from all over the world. Jamie in Ireland, And well, Judith is not far from Daniel, and I have no idea where Carmen's from. But and then Fernando's way up in Ventura County.
Carmen's on the internet. Carmen's on the internet. You can find her there.
I'm sorry.
I'm never mind. I'm interrupting you. I apologize. I think I'm funny. Sometimes it just doesn't land.
Yeah. So, well, the other thing too is you can't really tell. You can't hear the breath of people, And I don't know why I'm going on this because we have a great poet that I'm about to introduce, and I feel weird because he is the best poetry host in town, and I feel humble to be presenting him. So that's why I'm just going to ask him some crazy questions. You ready, Rick?
I'm ready.
All righty. By the way, I'm looking in the hat just to see where they are. See, they're just in there. Fernando's actually laughing at that. That's Fernando, this one's blank. Fernando, it took me a while to figure this out, but you were a little bit of Ella Rista and a little bit of Cheech Marin. It was a great combo there. Rick.
Yes.
Oh, you're a perfect person to ask this question because you're such a forerunner. Do the internet and social media contribute to the well-being of poetry?
I'm glad you asked me that because, I think yes and no. I guess first of all, it's provided us poets with an unlimited ability to spew our work in every possible direction to every possible person on the earth. So in terms of being able to get our words out there, that has been a great benefit, I think, to individual poets. If you look at any Facebook group that has the word poetry in it, odds are that some poet has that on their roster of groups to stop by and post their latest thing to. So yes, in terms of putting poetry on the radar of a lot of other poets, it's been really good. I know for me, it's the primary way that I promote my work, so it's been great for me. Though there really is, the other side of that coin is that there's a complete lack of vetting that happens, and so everything is available, whether I don't want to say if it's good or not, but whether the receiver likes it or not. Everything is available. I think there's two. It's yes and no that answer, and depending on who you are and what you're receiving.
Oh, okay. So, instead of asking you another question, can you give us just a few minutes and tell us about that video, the coffee house video you posted a while back? Because I just thought that was fascinating. And for some of you were there, I was, like I said earlier, I was around, but just not participating. Can you do that, Rick?
Sure. I'm trying to remember what it was called.
Yeah.
And what it was, but I'm doing a search right now for LA coffee house film to see if I can talk about it a little more authoritatively, and that came up with no results that are relevant to. But someone in the 90s, in the early 90s, right about when I started at the Cobalt, which must have been 95 or 96, I think, started filming the coffee house scene in LA, which was really thriving and alive. There was the Cobalt, there was the Onyx, there was all kinds of places all over town, and got a lot of footage of poets and of musicians and of people talking about what it was like to have coffee houses available as a place to be, as a place to express themselves. And then he sat on that footage until this year, which was a lot of time, and finally released this film, which was really a beautiful postcard from that period of time of that scene. And it was early on in my hosting at the Cobalt, and they got footage of me reading. I had all kinds of hair and was all kinds of younger than I am now, and it was very nostalgic to see it. There were musicians who I remember from that time who used to perform at the Cobalt and other places, who were in that, who I hadn't thought about in such a long time, and it was really cool. And given more advance notice, I could look up that link and post a link to it and let you know what it was called and how you can watch it.
Well, I was just looking for it too, because I posted it to several sources and I can't remember now. I guess it was longer ago than I thought. One thing, you get to my age and time compresses. It's just like things that you thought were a week ago were actually like 5 years ago and stuff like that. Anyway, enough of me. The fabulous Rick Lupert.
Jerry, thank you so much for asking me to be here. It's amazing that you've started this series up as a sequel series, as a love note to the original Valley Contemporary Poets, that the legacy of that series gets to continue on. I know that you were a co-director of that series for a long time, and a number of other people here were also have either read at the series or were co-directors. I know Jamie O'Halloran was a co-director for a while. Elizabeth Iannacci was a co-director for a while, and almost everyone here either attended a Valley Contemporary Poets reading or was presented at the VCP. And I'm very excited that this new version will be collaborating with the Cobalt to present someone 4 times during 2022. And assuming we don't break the internet in poetry, we'll continue that on in perpetuity. So thanks for having me. It's really cool to be here. This poem that I'm going to start with was written as a response to a poem of the same name that Brendan wrote. It's called Never Have I Ever. Never have I ever rowed a boat, asked a ruler for his measurements, preceded a precedent, booked a magazine, wring my hand at the moon, legalized Maryland, sat at my desperado, ate Hex-Mex, blacked out while the cameras were rolling, traded cosmic books, rode Ella Fitzgerald through the desert, planned a stranger's funeral, spoke angrily to flowers, hung 11, put gastronomy in my car, sold a body of water, hunted big origami, fit Japan in my suitcase, walked on my tippy fingers, went dead. Thank you very much. We recently sent William Shatner to outer space, and that felt important. It felt like that was a long time coming. It felt like it was overdue. I know when he was up there, I felt, well, finally, he can take care of the things that we know he's good at. This is a poem about that. This is called Shat in Space. They shot the Shat to space where men have gone before, sealed in dick-shaped rocket, floated for 10 minutes like men had done before. Once he said, "I'm not from space, I just work there." Everyone works remotely now. When the Shat landed, the man who owns everything gave him a hug. The whole experience in 2 days or less. The Shat in the flying dick. Let me paste the things you asked us to paste in case you've been prepared to send me all your money and don't know how to do that. There you go. Stuff in the chat room. It's Hanukkah right now. So I'm wearing a Hanukkah shirt. When I'm done with this, I'm heading off to the Westfield Valencia with my wife Addie, and we're going to sing Hanukkah songs for the people under the auspices of the temple that we work at. Probably the best part about Hanukkah, and maybe the best part about being Jewish, is potatoes. I wrote this poem last week. I think it's called Ode to the Potato Pancake. O God, my God, of all the gifts you have given me, the potato pancake rises above all my cherished possessions. We are a people of the lasting oil. I am a person of the food fried in the lasting oil. I am wont to put potato in mouth, crispy edges, brown so my heart knows I mean business. Soft shredded potato texture on the inside, egg and flour, even gluten-free flour holds it together without affecting my whole thing. Step aside, jelly donuts. You try so hard, but you ain't potatoes. You ain't even small potatoes. Sour cream and applesauce. Oh, praise God for the combination of those two. It was a fried potato that convinced me I should be a believer, at least for these 8 nights. This is a food from the world yet to come. We're crossing through the gates of righteousness, a fork in our hand, our cardiologist close behind. Oh, Latka, I rededicate myself to you. You are the miracle. I'm now starving for potatoes, but the night is young. We recently moved to the Santa Clarita Valley from the San Fernando Valley. I lived in the same, like 30 or something like that, maybe less. I didn't do it on that, but it was a long, long time. And the house that we moved from in Van Nuys, I lived in for 17 years. That's a fact. And it was the first time I'd ever lived in a house. I'd lived in apartments my whole life, living up to that until my wife and I were lucky enough to be able to buy a house. And I kind of felt I was going to live there forever. So it was a really big deal emotionally, spiritually, in all kinds of ways to leave that house to come where we are now, which is awesome. I love our new place. I love where we are. But this is about the old house. This is called This Old House. Everything in this old house was a decision. The color red, the squeegee in the bathroom, the poorly finished floors because we were young and thought anyone on Craigslist could do the job. The empty kitchen light socket because it was too much light. The thermostat that's smarter than me, the paradise we planted in the front and back, the trash cans we left on the curb to combat the lunch eaters and what they left behind, the dust in the garage we never took away, the many light switches and outlets, mostly white for noticeable contrast, the faded mailbox which used to be gold, and the memory of the blood on my hands as I screwed it into the post, the furniture all gone now, yet more decisions led to giving it all away. No one wanted to pay even $50 for the liquor cabinet, which was in perfect condition, the smoothest ceilings, the recessed lighting, the checkered floor in the dining room, the shelves that the man who could do anything put up, everything in this house with 17 years of decisions, the things left undone, now someone else's choice to make. How dare they? How dare they? Every now and then we drive by it and I see little changes that they've made. It infuriates me. We lucky enough to go to Hawaii this past summer. We took Jude, which is the first time we've ever taken him on a vacation. Normally we drop him off somewhere and then just head out of town. So I'm going to read a couple poems from what I wrote there, from a forthcoming collection which might be called Hawaii Ku. I don't know. We'll find out. This is called It is 7 in the morning in Honolulu, Hawaii. If you told me I'd be awake at 7 in the morning without any prompting from electronics or a nudging hand, I would have laughed you into the Pacific Ocean. This is one of the effects of flying the other way, but not so far that you cross the international dateline. I'm not sure if international dateline should be capitalized, but it feels famous enough to deserve it. The time we have, even at this early hour, is limiting our breakfast options, and we're prepared for disappointment. Look how the uneven lines on the right side of this poem look like a wave that someone is waiting to ride. Poetry is water, is waves, is a man teaching surf lessons after feeding our Newhall cats. There is a ship at the bottom of the harbor. We will stand on top of it today and remember how it got there. This is a not the right poem. Stand by, everyone. We're having an emergency of poetry portions, and I want to read the poem I intended to read and not the other poem. Are you still with me? Looking at the screen. I'm doing a quick search. Hopefully I can find this and not like the... There we go. This poem is called Lazy River. It was written at the Disney Aulani Resort in Hawaii, a place we actually had to sell our son Jude to be able to afford to stay at it, but it felt worth it. But he got to spend the time with us there while we were there. This is called Lazy River. 1. I let Jude do all the work in the lazy river because lazy river. 2. We passed several empty tubes in the lazy river. Some people didn't make it. 3. Take the lazy river back to California, but not today. Alrighty. Have you been following the story of the Murder Hornets? This feels like a big deal. I know I've been on guard ever since I've heard about them. So I thought it kind of a practical guide to how to deal with their impending arrival would be useful. Called How to Deal with a Murder Hornet. Remember, it's not personal. As soon as you can, offer to double what they're paying. Make sure they don't have the wrong guy. Disguise yourself as a praying mantis. Religion makes murder hornets uncomfortable. Ask if its mother knows it's doing this. Won't anybody think of the children? Tell it you'll help it hide the other bodies. Delve into its past. Did it start out as a robber hornet? Consider the possibility you had this coming. Ask if it can make it quick. Run, damn you. Run. All right, I've got one more poem for you. No, I'm sorry, I have 2 more poems for you. I can do this. I forgot the golden rule of the 2-poem warning there for a minute. This is a poem that is from my book, God Wrestler. It's a poem for every Torah portion. It's my practice to write a poem after reading the Torah portion text every week. And the first of those, a few years ago, were collected in this book called God Wrestler. And it's also my practice that I read the one for that week's Torah portion. So this coming week's Torah portion is called Vayigash, and it's we're dealing with the story of Joseph, who was separated from his father for a while. And it reminded me of my story. I actually didn't know my father for a period of about 30 years. I knew him when I was very young, and I didn't know him for a long time. And then I showed up to where he was and demanded that we start this whole thing up again. So this is kind of about that. Like Joseph, I know what it's like to not have a father for decades. Mine hidden in the Egypt of Texas, pretending he was someone else, while I built my empire in the land of California. Like Joseph's brothers, it was me showed up on his doorstep, but I knew exactly who he was. Unlike the brothers, I wasn't there for wheat or even fancy coats. I just wanted to make sure the space between us would no longer be measured in decades. A cautionary lunch ensued, and then he brought me my sister, like Benjamin, only a girl. America became our land of Goshen and continued to flourish. Like the familial bond between Joseph and his brothers, there is nothing to forgive. We didn't move to Texas, of course, the Egypt of our story. I read ahead in the text, and it turns out things go south down there. No one wants to move twice, but there is an airplane ticket in the future. Next week, in fact, round trip. The first family lives on. It's from my book, God Wrestler. And I'm going to close with a poem from my book, The Tokyo Van Nuys Express. This is my newest book. It came out either last year or the year before. I'm not sure. That can be fact-checked. We can find out. It's all poems I wrote in Japan. That was the last trip that Addie and I got to go on with each other, with just each other. Japan is an amazing place. You should go there if you haven't been. And one of the reasons that we are able to go on these trips is because we're able to, as I mentioned earlier, drop our kid off somewhere. The first several years, we would drop him off with relatives on the East Coast. But the last few years, he's been going to summer camp. And this poem was written after we got back from Japan and during a few-day period before we had to go and pick him up again. Jerry, thank you so much for asking me to be here. It's a treat and an honor to be asked to read anywhere for any reason. It's a delight to have heard Daniel and Albert read as well, both of whom I've been hearing read for decades. Daniel, I can't remember a time, Daniel, that I've been a poet in Los Angeles that your voice was not a part of that soundtrack at one point or another, so it's cool to be at this venue with you. This poem is called Quiet. It is never this quiet in our house. Addie is buying groceries, and Jude, for all I know, is on a horse. I know for sure I've got a few more days without aggravated remote control clicking, without yelling at people over a headset. In Japan, children are not allowed to make noise until they are 35. I made that up, but this is creative writing, and I'm feeling creative. We had homemade Japanese dinner tonight, homemade with Addie's hands and the things she found at the stores, and our recent memories of small portions served one at a time so no items felt crowded by any others, and, as one menu said, portions were perfectly sized. It's all over on Sunday. We drive back to the Simi Valley to pick up our favorite noise. We've got a hose ready, a pair of scissors. We expect we'll need a second car for his fingernails. I'll miss the quiet, but I know it'll be just a handful of fast-moving years before the quiet doesn't go away. It goes so fast, they say. It is going so fast. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. Another bunch of handshakes for Rick. That was, I think this is one of the most spectacular readings I've been involved with, and I thank you all for coming out. I've known everybody in this room for quite a while, except for Carmen and Christopher. So maybe I'll get to know you as the years go along. Happy holidays to everybody. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas, and to whatever else you may all celebrate. I wish you the best. Next month on January 30th, the last Sunday, which is our normal time, the last Sunday, we'll be having Peter J. Harris and Luis J. Rodriguez. So I encourage you to get the word out. It's going to be a great reading. They are just, icons of Los Angeles poetry, and hope to see you then. We do have a way online at our website to receive donations, which will help us move into a venue eventually. And I ask you to take a look at it, at least take a look at our website to see all the fabulous things we've done in the past year. And that's VCP, VCPSocal.org, which of course is on all the millions of junk mail I've sent you. So for that, I say thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I have to take off because I have to rush over to the mall to do the singing, but it's nice to see you guys, and thank you so much for coming.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Rick. See you next time.
How do I close this?